All right, guys, S25 versus the iPhone 16 here in late 2025. Both these phones have come down in price a lot, and I would say give it a few more months, and you'll see these phones come down even more, especially as we get closer to like the S26 launch. But we can find iPhone 16 for 582, the S25 for around 524. So I've got a lot of people who are curious and getting these two phones here. Like I said, I would probably wait a little bit on the iPhone because I think it costs a little bit too much right now. 582. If you can get it for cheaper, I would spend no more than 550 for an iPhone 16 right now. The S25 is excellent where it's at right now if you can get it for that price. But yeah, I would say because if you're gonna spend $600, then you should probably just get the iPhone 17. So that would be my advice. But if you can get the 16 for a little bit cheaper around, or just wait until it comes down around 550, 530, then it'll be a really good deal. It'll be a few months. But yeah, so let's go ahead and just get into it. I love the design on both of these phones. I really love the color. I had a blue version of the S25, but I had sold it and I had bought another one. I thought this gray color would look better than the blue, but it ended up, I mean, it looks good, but I don't think it looks as good. But yeah, I do really love the design on both of these phones. I'm not a huge fan of the thicker camera rings on the S25. It hasn't grown on me. It's, I just prefer like the thinner rings that they had. They both have matte finish and they're both pretty, small devices, or not small, but they are pretty compact compared to, these 6.8 inch, 9-inch phones these days. So if you have smaller hands, you can easily one hand these phones. And they're both IP68 dust and water resistant. Like I said, they both look really, really good. And you do have a few little hardware tricks on the 16, which you may or may not like it. Some people will say, it's kind of gimmicky, but the camera control button, and it also doubles as a Galaxy, not a Galaxy, but an Apple Intelligence. I don't think I have it on. Yeah, I don't. As you can tell, I do not use Apple Intelligence. I got to turn it on. But you have the Apple Intelligence scan feature. And then you also have the action button over here, which is actually pretty useful. I actually really like it. I don't think this is gimmicky at all. You can program this button to basically do anything you want on the phone. So I think that's pretty cool. When it comes to the display experience, I think the S25, for me, I do really love the display on here. And there's a few reasons why the display I think is a lot better. Now, the S25 has the dynamic LTPO display. It's 120 Hertz. It is 2600 nits peak brightness at 6.2 inches. And then we also have 91.1% screen to body ratio. It is a 1080p panel at 416 for the PPI. It does have the Victus 2 glass on here. And it also does have the smaller punch hole, as you guys can see. The iPhone has a 6.1 inch display. It's the Super Retina XDR OLED panel. It's 2000 nits peak brightness, so the S25 is a lot brighter. But it does have a higher resolution at 1179 by 2556 with a higher PPI at 460. So I would say if you look kind of close up, the iPhone does look a little bit sharper when you look at those icons. It's kind of hard to tell through the camera, but that is one thing that I kind of miss with the base model Galaxy phones. They used to put 1440p displays on here. But nevertheless, the S25 has much better colors in my opinion. I do like the really nice vibrant colors. And then also, like I said, it's brighter. The bezels are thinner, so it just looks a lot more premium as well. And yeah, the 120 Hertz is actually kind of a big deal. This is why the iPhone 17 was so popular, or it was getting so much praise, even though it took Apple like years to bring this to the base model. The 16's display is still, it's a smooth panel at 60 Hertz, but it's still like nowhere near as smooth. Like you can't beat 120 Hertz. It just feels like a night and day difference when you're scrolling and swiping and stuff like that. So I would say the S25 has a far, better panel here for sure. I do want to talk about the specs here. Both phones have a pretty long software lifespan, with the S25 having a 7-year pledge. The iPhone is around that as well too. And the S25, we have the Snapdragon 8 Elite, 128 gigs of internal storage and 12 gigs of RAM. With the iPhone, we do have the Apple A18 chipset, 128 gigs and 8 gigs in RAM. Here's the single and multi-core scores. I would say basically both phones are fast to the point where the speed isn't necessarily going to matter at all because both phones are extremely fast. I would say you will see a difference in gaming performance just because the iPhone lacks 120 frames, so you won't be able to take advantage of games that, like PUBG and stuff like that offer 120 hertz or 120 frames. But general smoothness is very good on both. It's not a big deal. So I would say performance-wise, I wouldn't really worry about it at all. As you guys can see, they're pretty much on par with each other. And even the iPhone being 60 hertz is still pretty, smooth, animation-wise. It's not bad. So I would say, yeah, as far as general performance, not a big deal. Life Extreme, we do get better frame rates on the S25 here. So like I said, it's just a better device when it comes to gaming. Let's pop open PUBG here. So show you guys the PUBG settings here. 120 frames, guys. It's a lot smoother. So if you do like to game on smaller device, yeah, you definitely want to get the S25. And I think even with my 17, I think that recently just got 90 frames, so it doesn't even do 120 frames yet. If someone can update me on that and see if you have a 17. But for right now, like I said, iPhone 16 is perfectly fine for gaming, but for people who are more competitive, then you'll like the S25. But I would say not just gaming, just in general, like the swiping and scrolling, it just feels like a faster device. Just feels a lot more fluid than the 16. Check out these speakers on both. We'll start with the S25. Yeah, the iPhone 16 has a much fuller sounding speaker. I do like the way that the S25 sounds, but compared to the 16, it does sound a little bit flatter with the bass, but the overall sound I do prefer on the S25. It's just that the iPhone is just kind of dwarfing it in when it comes to bass quality, especially for, a song like this. Yeah, I mean, I personally, if I had to pick, I would go with the 16 speakers. I just like that fuller, bassier sound. All right, so I do want to touch on the biometrics, guys. This is something that I really love about Android. If you're somebody who's always been on iPhones, having a fingerprint scanner is just way better for me personally. You can do the face unlock, but I like having that dual option. But with the iPhone, yes, the Face ID is very secure and all that. But it would be nice if they put like Touch ID in the button. That would be cool to give us two options. Because sometimes Face ID, like if I have this propped up and I kind of look at it, it won't work, and then I have to pick it up and put my password in. So it can be kind of finicky. I don't know why people never mention that, but Face ID is not like it's not 100% accurate all the time. It's sometimes for me it just doesn't work quite right, but the fingerprint scanner is almost, it's almost flawless, right? So if you guys are a fan of the AI features, things like the Gemini Assistant work a lot better than the Apple Intelligence, Assistant, and like this thing is dramatically better. Like the Gemini is a lot better. Not only that, from just testing these AI, features over, this year, the object eraser is a lot better. It just does a way better job when it comes to the AI features. The Apple Intelligence, it works fine, but it's just not smart, and it can't give you answers in like a timely fashion. So like, for instance, right? How much does the iPhone 17 Pro Max 1 terabyte cost? Yeah, so it pulls up a link. How much does it cost? Okay. How much does the iPhone 17 1 terabyte cost?
The price for a 1 terabyte iPhone 17 depends on the specific model. iPhone 17 Pro 1 TB generally listed at $1,409.
So I'll run into this issue a lot with the Apple Intelligence where I'm trying to ask it a question and then it'll forward me to ChatGPT and then it'll take a little bit longer to get the answer. It's just very inefficient and it just doesn't work well in my opinion. So if you like AI features, go with the Galaxy AI. It's much, much better, I think, at everything, honestly. One of the benefits of going with the S25 is that you actually have a telephoto lens. It's something that the base model iPhones, of course, probably will never have. It's a 15 megapixel standard, a 10 megapixel telephoto. It has 3 times, and then you get 30 times zoom. It has 12 megapixel ultra wide. You have 8K 24 and 30. You have AI features like best face, which is pretty good. And you also have a 12 megapixel selfie that shoots in 4K 60. The iPhone has a 48 megapixel standard and a 12 megapixel ultra wide. It shoots in 4K 60 as well with a 12 megapixel selfie that also shoots again in 4K 60. This one has a maximum zoom of 10 times. Alright guys, let's talk about battery performance. After using these phones for, some time now, I would actually say that you have very good battery life, very similar battery life on both of these devices in my opinion. Because the chip efficiency has gotten so good on the smaller phones, now even though they don't have a massive battery, you still get really good battery life. I'm able to get 6 hours of screen on time pretty easily as someone who is not necessarily, a heavy user or a gamer or something like that. Now you have a 40,000 milliamp hour battery on the S25. You have a 3,561 milliamp hour battery on the 16. You also have the same charging speeds as well. Pretty similar charging speeds at 25 watts. This has 25 watt MagSafe charging, and you also do have reverse wireless charging on the S25. So I would say, guys, honestly, if I'm going with my money, I would spend a little bit less, and I feel like you're getting a better phone with the S25, honestly. Be sure to let me know what you guys think.